think it's working. Let us see. I'm gonna just check the audio. Okay, I think it is working.
I'm seeing it here.
Beautiful.
It's working.
Okay, we'll see if people kind of filter into here or not. I'm super new to streaming, so I'm so sorry if things are not working the best and looking the best. Alpha and Omega, welcome to the chat, Brother Bear. I appreciate you joining in. Here, let me go get, while you guys are filtering, I'm gonna go find my dog. Hey, bud, come here. Yeah, come on, let's go. Come on. There we go. Good boy. Good boy. Say hey to the live stream, Theo. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Can you lay down? Can you lay down? Thank you. Alrighty, guys. Let's see. There's 5 people in here. That's enough. How are you all doing? Just drop something in the chat so I know who I'm talking to. Yeah, live streaming is weird for me, but let's just see how this goes. Because I have this camera, thanks to Cam. Sony doesn't like me very much these days, but living with Cam gets you access to certain cameras and fun toys. So yeah, I kind of wanted to just jump on a live to talk about this thing because it's such a confusing and very, very divisive camera. So I wanted to just kind of do a live stream and chit chat with you guys about it before I go out and make anything on it. I was gonna go shoot some stuff today, but I got sidetracked because I have a new Axoon live streaming monitor. So that's why we're here. And so we're kind of also testing that out as well. But if you're in the chat, please drop anything just so I know you're chilling here and we can kind of get this whole thing going. Cheyenne, tell Cam. Cheyenne says hi. I think Cam's technically watching. He's in the other room doing God knows what. I frankly don't want to know. Right, Theo? Welcome to the chat, though. I appreciate you joining in. Yeah. So this is it. This is the Sony RX1R 3. And I've been aware of this series of cameras not super long. In fact, I was hanging out with one of the Sony representatives and he had the predecessor version of this. And I was like, oh, what is that Sony camera? Turns out it's about a decade old, came out in 2015. I was like, man, that'd be so cool if they made a new version of that. And they did, like literally a couple months later. So here we are. That's pretty awesome. But there's just been a couple of interesting things on this. And if you've watched Cam Mackey's video or if you watched Terry Warfield's video, you guys already maybe know some of the issues that people are having with this. And I think it probably is mostly going to be cost because this camera is on the pricier side. So we'll definitely talk about those kind of first impression thoughts, and as I kind of have it here in my hand, how does it feel, lens, all that kind of fun stuff. So if you have any specific questions, feel free to drop them. If you have any off-topic questions, that's completely fine. This is I want these to be kind of conversational, so I don't want to feel like I'm just talking to myself in a room as much as possible. So let me know what kind of things you want to know about this camera as we go. But the first things that I immediately noticed after picking up this camera is that it is absurdly tiny, but also kind of not all at the same time, because I kind of imagined for some reason that, you know, I knew it was going to have a fixed lens, but for some reason I imagined that this would not be so big that you couldn't fit it in your pocket, right? And so that's the very first thing that is kind of weirding me out with this camera is I wanted it to be a pocketable, bring it with me camera, kind of similar to the Ricoh or Ryko cameras. I really enjoy those cameras because you can just pocket them and bring them with you anywhere. And I kind of was wanting that for this sensor that's in it because it shares the Sony a7R5 sensor, which is pretty rad. I love that sensor. I love that camera. But it's just, you know, it's like an awkward size to me because again, it doesn't fit in my pocket, but at the same time, it's small enough that like two of my fingers fall off of it when I'm holding onto it in a kind of semi comfortable way. So that's kind of weird to me. I'm not sure if it's almost like if you guys are in the gaming sphere, it's almost like a Mad Catz controller. You know those ones that you would always give to your friends or your younger brother because you wanted to use the real Xbox controller or GameCube controller or whatever. That's how this feels to me. It's like a weird, awkward size to this camera, but maybe some people are gonna like it. I don't know. I feel like I'm pretty normal sized person. So, you know, if you're, you know, right around 5'11", that's where, I don't know, it just feels weird to me. So that's kind of the very first impression I got as soon as I picked it up, was that it's just a little bit of an awkward camera size, unfortunately. Ish, it should be called the Sony Trump. He's the reason why it costs so much. Yeah, you know, you're going to be better off talking to Cam about that one. He loves talking about that kind of stuff. I'd like to keep that out of the conversation, but I do hear you. I know what you're trying to say. Let's see. When the A7CR and a Prime are $1,000 less, it's hard to sell it for the vibe. This is Michael. The fact it is not quite pocketable is a bummer too. Yeah, exactly. And that's something that I do want to address with this is I'm having a hard time even justifying this for other people because, you know, I'm not going to buy every camera that comes out, even in the cameras I get my hands on to test out. But I do try to think about things of like, well, if I don't want it, who's this for and how could I talk to that person just to make sure that they have a more informed buying decision. And I have a hard time even recommending it to those people because you're right. There's a lot of other cameras out there because it's not pocketable that I think like, okay, you get the A7 or the, what's the camera called? Yeah, the A7CR. You throw a really nifty prime lens on it and it has an interchangeable mount and it's not really, in all seriousness, that much bigger than this camera. And I would argue that it's more comfortable, and you're right, it is significantly cheaper. Additionally, I owned the Sony A7R5. I love that camera, also the same sensor, and I picked that camera up for $2,800 used, and this camera's $5,100 for context. So that is pretty crazy. Jason Morris, dude, thank you for dropping by. I held the GFX 100 RF, and that's a good feel instead of this. Yeah, that's the other thing that's kind of interesting. The 100 RF from Fujifilm is a medium format camera in a similar vein to this, fixed lens, a little too big to fit in your pocket, but you know, it's all about the vibes. And that camera is actually weirdly cheaper and it has a medium format sensor. Now this has a more pleasing lens on the front of it than maybe the GFX camera does, so take that into consideration, of course, but it is really interesting that this tiny full frame camera can cost so much money. It's not material either. Like this door on the bottom, the battery door here, unless I'm mistaken, it feels like plastic. It may not be plastic, but it feels like plastic. Parts of this are some sort of, you know, aluminum of some kind, maybe magnesium alloy, but it doesn't feel immediately premium to me, which is also kind of a turnoff because I do feel like this camera is trying to compete with Leica. Whether or not they admit that, I think that's what this camera is going for. And having used some Leica cameras now, I will say that while they're still absurdly expensive, they do have that premium feel, almost like a Rolex, essentially. So that's really interesting. Jeff says, what's up? Can't sleep in Italy. So I'm tuning into your live stream. Dude, I appreciate that so much. I'm actually going to Italy in November. So what part of Italy are you from, brother? I love Italy. One of my favorite places. Let's see. Who else is talking in the chat? Ish says, the images Cam posted reminded me of the M10 rendering. That's why it's appealing to me. Yeah, and that's the thing that Cam and I kept talking about this camera is it's not a logical camera. People are going to buy it if they want, and they're going to completely ignore it if they want, and that's plenty fine. Everyone's welcome to do with their money what they want, but I'm just trying to give you guys my perspective on it, you know, since it's in my hands right now before people go out and buy it. People want to know, how bad is the EVF? I've put my eye up to it a few times. I'll be honest, I don't like it. I mean, I like the positioning of it because it gets your nose off of the screen, which is great, but the actual quality of it is, I would just call it fine, which for the cost of this camera, the word fine shouldn't be coming out of my mouth very often, so that's kind of a disappointing. Again, it's like the texture feels fine. The EVF is fine. The screen quality is fine. Doesn't, lift up. It's a fixed screen. That's fine. The lens, actually, I think the lens is probably the best thing about this thing. So that's going to be what's going to sell you probably on this camera is the lens, although it's not like it feels super premium, but the actual images you can get off of it are pretty nice, I will say. Matt Parson, missed opportunity for Sony to unleash robust film simulation controls. Yeah, Lumix did great with the LUT Lab. I agree. So that's the other thing is I do think that another camera that this is trying to immediately compete with is the hype of the Fujifilm X100 series cameras, because obviously people go crazy for those, and rightly so. They're pretty awesome cameras. I think that what made Fujifilm so successful is not just the design of the cameras, although I think that they're great. I think that a lot of what makes those cameras special, and the reason why I loved Fujifilm, was for those JPEG film sims, the ones that were built in, but then also the ones you could customize. And I do think Lumix is now the next closest to Fujifilm. It's a little bit more obnoxious to use than the built-in one that Fujifilm provides with the film sims. Then you can tweak those with the curves and everything. That's super awesome. The Lumix Lab app is good, and I enjoy using it, especially on the S9, which is a similar size camera to this, but it's not quite as intuitive as I'd want it to be. But yes, I agree. I saw some of the film sims out of the Sony. They looked okay. Cam and I had loaded up in his computer, and we were using whatever Sony's editing software is for their photos. And I think Film Sim 1 kind of had a little bit of charm to it, and you could play with it. But that's after loading a raw photo in, applying it, and then tweaking it, right? So that's kind of the interesting thing about that, is you needed to tweak it to make it look good, and you can't, as far as I know, you can't really do that in camera very well and make it look good. So I don't know. It's kind of a rough point. Let's see what else is going on. But I am curious to know what kind of, I mean, for the few people that are in here, I appreciate you guys stopping in. Again, new to live, so you're going to have to excuse my roughness. I'll get better at these as I keep doing them. I would like to keep doing more and more as I can. But what is it about this camera? If you guys are excited about it, is it just the lens that you're excited for, or how do we feel about other things about this camera? Like, what is it about this that makes it appealing to you besides just the lens? Alpha wants to know, how is the autofocus? It's a Sony camera. It's fabulous. If you want to know, it's just like every other Sony camera that has come out lately. Really snappy, really fast. I mean, it's perfect. I've been used to using Lumix a lot lately because it's providing me the video features that I need. I'm actually shooting on an old Lumix camera right now. This is the S5 2X. That's kind of fun. But with Lumix cameras, the autofocus, I would call it good, but for Sony or Canon, I would call it excellent. So in this thing, it's no different. It's fabulous. I have no issue with it at all. I'm kind of looking at the UI right now. You're not going to be able to see this very well, but it kind of doesn't look super professional. It's got like all these touchscreen cubes on the side, and they're just kind of always there. I don't know if I can turn those off. You definitely can't see that in the image, but I'm gonna have to see if I can turn those off or display. No, they kind of just stay there if you hit the display button, so that's kind of annoying. Now the good thing about this camera is they do have crop mode. So one of the things about a fixed lens is you're limited and what you can shoot, because this is a 35 fixed, so you're gonna have to zoom with your feet, right? Move closer, move farther away, depending on the shot that you want to get. But this camera does, because it's that 61 megapixel 8K sensor that is in this thing, you can on here go into a 50mm mode and then a 70mm mode. The question is how good do they look? I'm actually not 100% sure. I'm gonna be curious to try those out when I take this thing out for a spin here soon. But there is some flexibility with this. I think I would prefer, I don't know, actually I think that's pretty good because on Fujifilm, for example, you have the 35mm lens as well, but because it's already a crop sensor and a low megapixels, I wouldn't want to zoom in on those photos at all. So the fact that it's the 61 megapixel sensor, I think that that would be great. I've taken some really rad photos on my Sony a7R5 and cropped them in. They still looked really good. So I imagine it would be no different on this camera. So. But I'm working through this. What are other things? The other thing that's interesting is, again, they're small camera, so you kind of expect it to be the small battery, but I was hoping that it would be the larger battery. It'd be interesting to see how long this thing lasts, if it's gonna last me all day, or if you're gonna need a bunch of batteries on hand, even just for taking photos. I'm not 100% sure how I feel about that, but it is what it is for now. Ish is saying that the reason why he is gravitating towards this thing is that he likes that it's small, simple, quick, and great images. It seems like you have to pay more for less these days. Yeah, and that's the thing. If that's what you're going for, I think the autofocus is probably going to be the biggest selling point over a Leica because I'm talking to a couple other buddies about this, but you can buy really awesome used Leica cameras for about the same price as this, and then you get the luxuries, but you would lose the functionalness of a Sony camera. So if you're more concerned with the function of a Sony camera and you want this form factor, then I guess you can't really beat this. But if you're drawn to it for the form factor and the artistry of a camera like this, then I don't think that I would buy it. I don't think I would buy this camera. I don't think I would buy this camera for a lot of reasons, actually, but that's just my initial impressions. I need to get out there and actually shoot some photos with it and see what's gonna really make this thing good or kind of just make it collect dust. And that's just coming from me. I think also, if I was going for a full frame, vibey, reliable camera, I probably would just go with my Nikon ZF for photos because it's not that much. I don't have it next to me right now, but it's not that much bigger than this camera. It is bigger. It's definitely heavier. I kind of like the weight of the camera, but you're going to get really beautiful images out of it. And it has an interchangeable mount because that 40mm lens that you can buy for the Nikon ZF mount is honestly about the same size as this and maybe even smaller. So I'm not really sure. Yeah, I think I would just buy that because I think the ZF is like $1,700. You buy that little 40mm lens or the 28mm lens as well, and you just rip that. Unless you are steep in the Sony, unless you're deep in the Sony system, I don't know that I would recommend this over a lot of other cameras, if I'm being completely honest. This is probably why Sony doesn't like me, because I'm just telling you guys what I think. Yeah.
Change your title to Sony RX1R3 versus Nikon ZF. Your grab your ZF.
Yes, maybe I should do that. Cam's giving me advice for live streaming. He does this more than me. ZF. Boom. Ish is saying, I think we'll probably see other manufacturers drop camera like this now. I'm sure Nikon can do better with their 40mm. Yeah, actually, you know, the camera manufacturer I would love to see a camera in this vein is Canon. I don't know why Canon hasn't really jumped into this world too much. It feels like whenever they go into like a smaller form factor camera, they always go really cheap. But I think that Canon has a really robust lineup of old vintage film cameras, and it would be really cool to see them make something of this size that is like giving you that classic photography rangefinder feel. They have a ton of cool cameras like that, so that would be interesting to see. But let me go find my, you can stick around if you want. Let me go find my ZF. Thanks.
It's their 40.25.
Yeah, nice. So Cam just handed me also his Sony A7C II. I've been messing around with this camera a little bit as well. And this is their 40 millimeter, looks like a T2.5. This is actually pretty rad. Let's see. And it has a hood on the top of it, right? So actually, let me take off the hood. So you guys can see those lenses are literally right around the same exact size. And I mean, the RX1R 3 is significantly smaller, I guess, but it also at the same time really isn't. This has a cage on it, so that's really distorting the size difference. But yeah, to me, are these really that different? And this is going to give you an articulating flip screen as well, and they're both rangefinder camera style, so you got the little IEVF as well. This is again, this is why this camera is so confusing to me, because I'm not really sure who Sony made this for. This is kind of how I felt about the FX2. It's like, technically it's fine in the vacuum of Sony. If you're looking at only Sony cameras and you only care about Sony cameras, the FX2 makes sense. That's how I feel about maybe the RX1R3 as well. Is like, if you're looking at a pillar of Sony cameras, it's like, oh, sick. This is a a sick little point and shoot style tiny camera that you can toss in your bag and take epic pictures. Sick. But again, when you start introducing other camera columns, like for instance, this, which is currently my favorite photo camera on the market, the Nikon ZF, it's like, dang, dude, it's also a really epic full frame photo camera, not point and shoot, but again, the price on it is so cheap at right around 1,700 bucks with no lens, but still, you can buy a lens for pretty cheap relative to the cost of other things. And then if you're going for this for the for the premiumness of it, I just don't think they went far enough. I think that they should have made it out of like a proper, maybe a brass body or titanium body or something along those lines to give it kind of that premium feel. Maybe even instead of this, almost feels like tactile rubber. Instead of doing that, maybe they went with leather or something along those lines. I just feel like there's so many weird missed opportunities for this camera, in my opinion, that it's really confusing. Kofi, welcome to the chat, brother. I'm trying lives. You guys are superheroes for doing this as often as you guys do. I can't do this. He says Sony made a Tamagotchi. Yeah, honestly, it's like a little Tamagotchi camera, which is hilarious. Very expensive Tamagotchi, though. So that's pretty exciting. But the reason why I enjoy my Nikon ZF and why I've been favoring this camera so much lately is, one, for how expensive it is, it does kind of have that premium feel with these leathery textures, and then also they gave you actual brass knobs, so you can't probably see this in the live stream, but I sanded them down just a little bit so that the brass is revealed on just the rivet part of the dials, and I think it looks really good. And that's just something that you're not going to get with these premium materials in this Sony camera, which is just so bizarre for what. Yeah, it's like this has the leather grips on the side too. I guess I never really even thought about it until now I'm holding this other camera. But it's like everything about this camera just feels correct. And that's also in line with the JPEGs on here. I often shoot just JPEGs on this Nikon camera. It's worse than Fujifilm, and it's even worse than Lumix, but it's still good, especially their monochrome. I think their monochrome is actually really good. But the fact that this camera exists makes this camera that much harder to justify. I mean, I don't know if you guys feel that same way, but for me, this is what's going on. Yo, Dave, Ultra Maze. I don't have one, Dave, to answer you. This is Cam's, or this isn't even Cam's. This is a loaner from Sony to Cam that I am now holding. So, I'm kind of stealing it a little bit. But yes, I have my hands on one. I am going to try it out. If you guys don't know who Dave is, you should go give him a follow. He's now doing some really epic thumbnail stuff. He's about to do a thumbnail course, and it's looking incredible. So if you're in the creative space at all, you should figure out who Dave Altizer is and give him a look. Thanks, Cam. Yes, lots of other great options.
Without it in the box. On
That's
accident.
illegal.
on accident.
Did they send it back?
No, I've been wondering why it didn't go through.
Oh,
That's why.
that's why. That's hilarious. Cam gave yeah, Cam gave me a ton of other options. Again, that's all filling this go with you style, premium, not premium, vintage, not vintage camera system. This is the Fujifilm X-T5. I own the predecessor of this, the X-T4 with the flip screen, the only one with the flip screen. I think it's better. But this one actually gives you a proper, at least articulating screen, so you can tilt it up, which is super useful. Having to bend down to look at this screen if you're like trying to take low angle shots, that's pretty annoying. So yeah, the fact that this has it, this is obviously a lot bigger, although the lens on here you could swap out with anything else. But even the Fujifilm, this grip, it just feels correct. Like it's not a large camera. That's the thing that gets me. Like all these cameras are not large cameras. You also have this little guy, the the XM5 from Fujifilm. I mean, golly, this thing also has an articulating flip screen. Feels really cheap, but I think it's sub $1,000. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. But the fact that this thing, it's like, God, I don't know. And then at the same time, on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, this is Cam's Leica. This is his Q343. Ultra premium. I actually did say though that this has that same like tactile rubber that the Sony has, which is just personally not my favorite, especially when you start paying the prices that you're paying for this. But at least the actual metal housing and the heft and weight to this camera feels really freaking good. And the screen actually tilts up for you. So it's giving you, I think this is probably one of the more perfect examples of where functionality meets art, because this camera, it sacrifices some functionality in the name of art, but I think it does it in the correct way where it's like, okay, yeah, I'm maybe losing out on some buttons and on the back and stuff that would be nice to have as a photographer, but sometimes removing those things can get them out of your way. So you're more locked into your camera and focused on what you're actually doing. So that's really cool. But they didn't not give you a tilt screen. So I don't know what we're going to say about that. Dave says, yeah, loner, but still cool to have hands on. Yeah, super cool to have one hands on. I'm really curious to actually go out and shoot some photos. I've just been seeing examples and then I've held it. I'm doing a live really to just kind of test out this live streaming setup with this Axun monitor. So this is actually, I'll show you guys this real quick. This is the box for the other one. I have the M7 here, but over there I have the M7 Pro, and I'm streaming directly from the monitor. So my computer, I don't have anything plugged in except for power, and it's really cool. So you just put in your YouTube key and whatever else, and then you can stream directly from the monitor. It was a little bit of a hassle to learn and set up, but it's running an actual Android operating system. So yeah, this thing's actually pretty nifty. I'm gonna have to see how it works out if you're filming outside, because it's 1000 nit brightness, which may not be bright enough, but they do give you, I'm just a mess, I have everything in front of me, a really nice leather-ish, faux leather hood there for your monitor, so you should be able to still use it out in the bright sunlight. But yes, I'm testing out that monitor right now, and it looks really freaking nice. I'm enjoying it so far, but it's a little bit of a quirky to get to figure out. But I don't know. I just really, if there's anything you guys want to ask me specifically about this camera, feel free. Or if you guys want to tell me what you'd like to see in a video. Currently, what I'm thinking about doing is just going out and doing a hands-on POV style where I just go and literally experience it and take photos. I haven't really done that style before, so that should be interesting. I have the DJI Action 5. I thought about just wearing the goofy looking necklace thing, so it just hang down here, and then I can go and do a first-person perspective video, but I'm not really sure if that's what you guys would be interested in seeing, or if you would want to see a more traditional breakdown first impressions video. But I don't know. That might be it. That might be all I got for you guys today, because I haven't actually shot with it. This is just kind of an impromptu, I needed to test out this monitor live stream. But if you guys have any last second questions about kind of what I have in front of me here, again, we have the ZF, the XT5, the XM5, and then the Q343, or anything else. We got the Sony a7C II as well. So if there's any questions you guys have in regards to any of these things, feel free to ask right now. but otherwise I might just go ahead and dip on out of here because I actually need to get out and test this thing. So, in fact, I actually don't even know how to end the live stream. I'm actually terrible at this. Oh, another thing to talk about though, real quick with this thing, again with price, when you consider inflation, the price isn't that absurd. It's still crazy to me because other cameras exist that are cheaper, and tech tends to get cheaper. This is in a case where it didn't, but I do think that if you look at just the raw numbers, inflation went up about 40% since the last camera came out, which is crazy. That's crazy already. So that does actually make sense, especially when you look at the prices of this camera in other countries. It's closer to $4,600, which is right around that 40% increase in price. So some people are pointing to that to justify the price of this thing, which again, if you want to buy this camera, please feel free. No one can tell you not to spend your money on whatever you want to spend your money on. But I just think that there's too many other amazing full frame cameras out there right now that are even photography specific that I think I would have a hard time recommending this. Actually, the one camera I really need to get my hands on and compare with this camera, which would be really interesting if I can get it in time, would be those Ryko GR cameras, because I think that's accomplishing exactly what this wants to be. Although those are crop sensor, obviously those are crop sensor, but it's like they're pocketable, bring it with you everyday cameras, and I think that that is what this was meant to be, and it just didn't quite hit the mark. So I don't know. That's it. That's all I got. I'm going to try to figure out how to end this thing. Just a quick 30-minute stream. We'll try to do better next time and have more things to talk about. But that's, hey, it's the first one, okay? Cut me some slack. Let's see about this.